Visionary Minds Public Relations and Media is a proud sponsor of CA Media Podcast. Be sure to get all your publicity, digital marketing, writing, media consulting services by emailing visionarymindsny@gmail.com.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the CA Media Podcast, the show that allows you to come in your own unique way. This podcast will be about my journey throughout my adult life. I will bring my friends, and there will be some episode in which I will be alone to speak about what's on my mind. Topics will range from society, culture, sports, relationships, and so much more. There's nothing off limits on the CA Media Podcast. So, as you come into my world to listen to my podcast, feel free to know that this is a safe space and a personal space to bring your family and friends to listen to the CA Media Podcast. So come and join this ride with me, and as always, this is the show that allows you to come in your most unique, authentic way. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the CA Media Podcast, the show that allows you to come in your own unique way. I am the host, Clyde Anderson. The show is brought to you by Visionary Minds Public Relations and Media. If you have any media consultations or inquiries, please contact Tammy Reese at visionarymindsny@gmail.com, and she would gladly get in contact with you. So this podcast, an impromptu. This is probably like the second podcast I've done in reference to the Mets at the end of the season since last year. Title of this podcast, 2025 New York Mets season, and the podcast title should actually states this: Mets collapsed, the highs, the lows, and what's next for Queens in this era of Steve Cohen and the era of Juan Soto in his $765 million contract that he has for 15 years, in which he can opt out in like 5 years. Well, now 4 years. Ladies and gentlemen, my name is Clyde Anderson, and we're here talking about the New York Mets 2025 season, a year that had extremely high hopes, high expectations. It was World Series appearance or bust until you get to game 162 and you get eliminated because you can't score no runs. Like, what are we doing? You had one goal this year. Yes, the expectations to make it to the World Series, but you couldn't make it to the postseason. You had help by the Milwaukee Brewers. You had to just do your job, win, and you're in. But you didn't. And now Cincinnati gets in for the first time in 5 years. And you're the outside looking in after going to Game 6 of the LCS last year against the eventual World Champions Los Angeles Dodgers. The Dodgers are in. They're the 3 seed. They're in. They didn't defend any title. You couldn't even defend the wild card title. Wow. Again, we're here to discuss the highs, the crushing lows, and the ultimate end of a collapse that the Mets fan will remember for all the wrong reasons. We'll break down the highs and lows and to highlight the stats that define this season, the 2025 New York Mets season, and preview what needs to happen in the offseason as we head into the 2026 season. And we give a little impromptu of what to kind of expect in the 2025 Major League Baseball postseason. All right, let's go by act. Act one. Let's talk about the highs. Let's talk about the good stuff before we get to the bad stuff, and then what they need to do for the off season. Let's start with the good. It was pretty good to celebrate in Queens this year. We had Juan Soto and Francisco Lindor put up both on the show. Not only they anchored the lineup, they also each joined the 30-30 club. Soto joined the 40-30 club, 40 home run, 30 stolen base. He put the stolen base in his repertoire this year, which was really good for the Mets. But most of that was like late season. But if that was done early in the season, you could help won some games. But it is what it is, right? So they put themselves in an elite company. Lindor was rewarded for a starting spot in the All Star game, and so to remind everyone why he should have been an All Star game starter or even a reserve. But this also lets you know that Soto is point blank period is should be feared as one of the most feared hitters in baseball. Pete Alonso, who grew up in the system, gave every fan another historic moment. In August, he launched his 253rd career home run, surpassing Darryl Strawberry as the all-time Mets leader in home runs. I so happened to got the Topps card where he surpassed Strawberry. It's over there somewhere in my home. That is a franchise record that cements Alonso place in the Mets lores. Maybe 7, 8 years from now, either Lindor or Nemo, or definitely if Soto's here for the entire 15 years, that record will be broken if Alonso doesn't stay because he's opted out for free agency this year. On the mound, there were some bright spots too. We had a reliever, Edward Diaz, showed flashes of his 2022 dominance where he locked down 27 save, earning NL reliever of the year, reliever of the month in the month of July, I believe, as well as May. He also had 11 straight scoreless innings. A starting pitcher, David Peterson, gave the rotation stability, striking out over 150 batters, and Clay Holmes added 11 wins with a respectable 3.66 ERA. That ERA probably had dropped a little bit for him appearing in today's game, but he is, if I'm not mistaken, top 10 in ERA for the National League this year. While the Mets were even sitting on top of the National League East for a bit, it was a feeling in the beginning of June that this team could go on a great run, right? So you're 20 games up, 20 games over 500, 8.5 in the division in June. This would be like mid June, beginning of June, mid June. Good standings. Looks of things, foreseeing the future. Probably one or two seed in the major league postseason. Definitely where they was at in June. They were locked in as the best team in baseball, perhaps the number one seed entering the 2025 playoffs. Let's talk about the lows. Let's talk about Act Two, the lows. This is where the story, this is where the season turned, and this is has ultimately unraveled slowly and diabolically unravel the Mets season. It all really started with Kodai Senga's being injured, right? It started with that in mid June, and then Clay Holmes gave up like 5 runs in a game after that game that Kodai Senga got injured. Kodai Senga was having one of the best years since being a Met, since being a rookie, literally. So the Mets went on a 38-56 run that collapse cost them the division, cost them the wild card spot, ultimately cost them a promising season that ended in a frustrating one. Injuries piled up. Brad Beatty got injured, went down with a oblique injury late September. Tyler McGill needs Tommy John surgery, and that sidelined him until 2027. So he's out for 2026. The rotation simply couldn't have the depth that needed to support the Mets in the run support or even the pitching depth. Most of the starter pitchers couldn't make it past 5 innings. And then you had your bullpen blown up. You use your bullpen more than you use your starting pitchers. It shows that not that Mr. Carlos Mendoza didn't have faith in the Mets. He didn't have faith in his pitching. The starting pitcher, they couldn't they couldn't last. And then you eventually had to call up people from the minor leagues that was doing great and you put them in unique situations. Some did well, some didn't. And yes, the starting pitching from the minor league did help boost the Mets. But eventually, when it came to game 162, it is what it is. You when you need to win a game, once again the bullpen blow up. But you can't also hold that against the bullpen. You can also hold that against the offense because they ain't scoring no runs in game 162. And you get eliminated by the playoffs again for the third time in like over 20 years, give or take. Let's say 18. 18 years by the Florida Marlins. That says something. Offensively, the Mets had power, but they lack consistency. They finished in the middle of the pack with a respectable 247 average, which is 10th in run score with about 606. Eighth in home runs with 176. When it matters most, the bats are cold, as we see in game 162. No runs. Lindor grounded into a game in this season and then double play. Defensively in the bullpen, the overusage become a thing. Diaz did his job as always. We are so grateful for Edwin Diaz in his 5 years he gave the New York Mets. But the bridge arms, they couldn't hold up across 162. By September, you can see all the fatigue. Let's go through the numbers, the snapshots, the stat shots. Let's put this all together, right? Let's put it all together right now. 83-79, right? Second in the National League East, 4 games over 500. Had to tie with the Reds, but the Reds won the tiebreaker with the division series from the Mets and the Reds. The Reds won more games against the Mets, thus putting the Reds in the postseason. That's why these interleague, like interleague, not like American League versus National League, the within your league, the Central, the National League Central, the National League West. Got to win these games because these games really count. It just does. You have to win these games. 2 out of 3. 2 out of 3. You already got to think of all right. If you're playing 162 games, 2 out of 3, right? That's equivalent to give or take, if I'm not mistaken, 96 wins, right? Win 96 wins and lose 56, if I'm doing the math correctly, or 66. 96 to 66, that's 162, if I'm not mistaken. You're in the playoffs. You're in the playoffs. 96 to 66 for the most time, you're in the playoffs. You're in the playoffs. Or it could have been what happened in 2022, where the Mets, I believe they made the playoffs, or maybe they didn't. Maybe they did. Oh, maybe they did. They won a wild card, but got eliminated in the 1 game playoffs against San Diego. The Braves beat them in the last season, the game of the season, putting the Great Braves as a divisional winner, forced the Mets to play the 1 game playoffs and lost against Blake Snell and the San Diego Padres. I believe Juan Soto was on that team. Crazy, right? Crazy how ironic it's all of this, how cruel this sport can be at times. Again, let's talk about the numbers. We talked about the win-loss record, 80, 83-79. Team average was respectively 247, which is middle of for the major league, based on rank 16. So you at the middle. It's not high, not low, you're average, right? That's fair. 606 runs score, right again, right in the middle, not high, not low. If it's high, that's good. That means you're running, you're producing runs. You're helping your team win, right? 176 home runs when you have Alonso hitting 30 something, you have Lindor hitting 30 something, you have Nemo hitting around 25, 27, you have Soto hitting 42, top 10 in home runs, but you're pitching in homes having a 3.66 top 10 in the National League, or either in the National League or in the major. I believe it's the National League. And Peterson 150 strikeouts, and Diaz with 27 saves. 27 saves. That's not a lot. That's not a lot. That means he's not in the game real much. 27 saves, having 162 games. It's not a lot of saves. It's not. It's not a lot of saves. It's not. So basically, if he didn't save 27 games, you have a losing season. Solid numbers, but not only in baseball, like I said, being just okay across the board doesn't get you to the postseason. Just playing okay baseball doesn't get you to a wild card game. Doesn't get you a division title. It doesn't. Barely got a barely had a winning season. Four wins over 500. No, no. When at one time you was over 20 games over 500. All right, let's talk about what we can do in the off season, how we could probably fix some of this stuff. We know winter's coming. You know, 5 days after the World Series, you can file for free agency, and that's where eventually in December the winter meetings happens. Some managers getting canned right now. Some managers they're gonna wait until after the last pitch or the last game of the World Series to relieve managers. But some of the managers that's on the hot seat, they're getting canned right after game 162. Let's start with the Mets pitching depth. We need pitching. Can't go into 2026 without pitching. I know we relied on in 2021, 2022, Verlander, Scherzer, that blew up in our face, right? And we didn't have a good year, right? So we decided to go back to the system, went back to the farm, right? And we got a postseason appearance in 2024, right? We went to Game 6 of the LCS against the heavily favored Dodgers, and we lost, right? I was at City Field crying. I was crying at City Field. Game 6 of the LCS. I was there for Game 5 when the Temptation played, and and that was amazing. That was beautiful. I I enjoyed Game 5 of the LCS. That was beautiful, really beautiful. But crying in Game 6, there's a video. There's a video of me crying in Game 6 on my Instagram or Facebook somewhere. I have a video. Someone was like, "Are you crying?" Like, yes. Baseball can be cruel, and I just like to use that word. That this sport can be very cruel. I'm gonna give you a couple of cruel moments. Doesn't have to be in reference to the Mets. Let's go back to 1986. Yes, this is kind of in reference to the Mets, but the Mets was on the other side of this. Boston Red Sox haven't won a World Series in 1918. Remember, they traded Babe Ruth towards the beginning of 1919 for I think $100,000 to the Yankees, right? And the Yankees then wind up in 1923 wind up winning their first World Series and won X amount of World Series until that point. I think their last World Series until 1986 was in 1978 because they lost in 81 against the Dodgers against Fernando Valenzuela and Fernando Mania neglects the glamour of that, right? Arch nemesis Boston Red Sox. But I'm saying win the division, beat the Angels, the California Angels in '86 LCS, thus getting them the World Series. They had Roger Clemens, they had the White Evans, they had future Hall of Fame, could have been at the time, Bill Buckner, um, Calvin Schiraldi, they had old Cam Boyd, these old school 1930, 1940 names. And they also had Tom Seaver, but Tom Seaver was at the tail end of his career. He was on the bench. He didn't play one single inning or out of the '86 World Series, right? So Game 6, Boston up 3-2 in extra innings. Shea Stadium. Red Sox 1 out away. And there's flashes on the screen. Congratulations, Boston Red Sox on winning the 1986 World Series. That has flashed on the billboard of Shea Stadium, right? Everybody was prepared for the Red Sox to win their first World Title, and at the time, over 60 something years, right? Milky Wilson hit a dribbler up the first base line. Yes, Bill Buckner at the time should have been replaced with an agile first baseman. They didn't do that, right? So ball gets up to Bill Buckner. The ball goes under Buckner's gloves and legs. Ray Knight scores. Mets get a game 7 at Shea Stadium the following night. Mets trail game 7 to the 7th inning. Strawberry hit a moonshot. Orozco came in the ninth, shut the door. In the 1986 World Series, it's famously remembered for game 6 and its theatrics because the Mets was down like 2 or 3 runs in game 6 in the 10th inning. And they rallied. They rallied. Yes. And like I said, Bill Buckner era, Ray Knight scores. The Mets plus game 7. Like I said, 7th inning, Strawberry hit a moonshot. Roscoe shaved. The Mets win the World Series, right? Sports cruel, right? Sport is really cruel. That happened to the Boston Red Sox in 1986. Let's go to game 7 of the 2003 American League Championship Series. The current Yankee manager, Aaron Boone, hit a walk-off home run off the Boston Red Sox of game 7 of the 2003 ALCS, thus sending the Yankees to the World Series. The Yankees didn't win because the Florida Marlins, who had Josh Beckett, wind up pitching the game of his life, game 6 against Roger Clemens, and then Florida Marlins won their second World Series in like 6 years. Remember, they was an expansion team in 1993, and when you win 2 World Series in 10 years, that says something for the expansion team. And that's what happened at that moment in 2003. I talk about another cruel moment, a cruel postseason moment. Game 6, 2011 World Series. I think it was Rangers, Cardinals, David Freese, game winner, and Joe Buck was like, "We'll see you tomorrow night." Like cruel, cruel moments. The Texas Rangers at that time had not won the World Series. Have not won the World Series. In that moment, that's propelling the Cardinals to win another World Series, which the Cardinals currently, I think, for the National League has the most World Series. And of course, the Yankees got 27 or 26, whatever number they are now. True moment. This one can be really cruel. And let's talk about the Mets. Not saying all good things are cruel to the other team. The Mets are falls in this ballpark. And let's go to like the 2007 game 162, 2008 game 162. I think the Marlins was a part of that, causing the Mets not to make the postseason, not once but twice, but now 3 times. Look at 2025. This is like this sport can be really cruel. Let's talk about Cleveland Indians, right? A team that hasn't won the World Series since 48, or has it been since 1948? But 2016, they were ahead, game 7, Progressive Field, formerly Jacobs Field, or maybe that's the name change, but yeah. Game had, then there was a rain delay, and the Cubs came back, right? The Cubs came back the following, and then, or well, the Reds, the Indians tied, the Cubs went ahead the following, and then and wind up closing the door and winning their first World Series in 108 years. The sport can be really cruel, like really, really cruel. Like And just today, like I talk about the crew members, the Cleveland Guardians has did the greatest comeback. I think they said in sports history with their winning the division because the Detroit Tigers dominated, dominated, really technically the American League Central this entire year, and they lost the division. Like, like mind blowing stuff. Like this sport could be so loving, but the sport also could be so cruel to you. And as a Mets fan, my entire life since 1988, I have not witnessed a world championship. I've been to a World Series game, Yankees Dodgers, game four. I've been to a World Series game. I've been to a league championship game, same year, last year, Mets Dodgers game five. Been to a regular season game, prime example, last Sunday, Mets lost against Washington. A game that if they had won, they would have been in the postseason today. I've been in games where Hall of Famer Pedro Martinez gave up two home runs to Hall of Famer Mike Piazza. I've been in great games. And I've been in games like I saw like last Sunday where, if you had won that game, you would have been in the postseason. But yeah, let's go back and talk about what the Mets need to be doing to fix them right now. I had to give some examples of how cruel this game can be. We talked about the starter pitcher. They need a couple starter pitchers, more reliable depth in the bullpen to for them to flourish. Way better than what he did last year. The bench and the infield depth needs to be fixed. Base injury history, the Mets need to figure out who going to be on that third base side. They haven't had a consistent third baseman since David Wright. And we're talking about 2018 when Wright retired. But this is 2026 going on right now. We haven't had a consistent third baseman in 8 years. And we need pinch hitters that can actually hit. Lenny Harris, one of the greatest pinch hitters in the history of baseball. We need people that can get up to the plate when the pressure is on and deliver. We don't need no mediocre 250 batting average. We need somebody like Tony Gwynn, but rest his soul, that know how to bat 330 every year. Like these mediocre hitters isn't going to get you to the postseason. It's not. It's just not. Let's talk about the bullpen. The bullpen definitely need reinforcement. Diaz done an amazing job his years here at the Mets. Diaz can do it alone. And Clay Holmes isn't a long-term answer for every high leverage spot. We need to get some good bullpen that could help us lead us to Edwin Diaz in the ninth inning. Ryan Stanley did a great job this year. The acquisition that we got during the trade deadline, some planned out, some didn't. I think Ryan Hansley, that's his name. No, he did great the last couple games of the season, but from when we acquired him in late July to now to like till in the last game of the year, it wasn't working. It wasn't working. And finally, this is what I've been saying. I've been saying this a lot. I'm glad this came up. This came up. I had this in my notes. Situational hitting. I've been preaching this, 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 preaching this. The New York Mets need to know how to do situational hitting. Hit for average, get on base, move the runner on over to the second base, third base. Still, yes, they're great with still. Yes, they have been, but they don't steal when you need to steal. Why you want to put on that pressure towards the last game of the season when your season on line when you should be putting on that pressure at the beginning of the season? Put yourself in a situation to where your team could to score. If your man's on first base and he could speed, if he have a if his average speed is above a 70, 75, let him run. A fly ball center field or left field or right field after he stole second, if it's a fly out to left center, right center, guy could go for second and third. And now you have one out. A man on third. That means if you get another fly ball or you get a blue hit or something in the corner or something deep in center field, your runner for third can score on that fly out. Situational hitters. The New York Mets have too many empty swing on runners in scoring position. And if you add a contact oriented bat with balanced heavy power leverage lineup, you could win more games. You could win more than 83 games. I said you could have won that. You could have 90 games. You could have easily won 90 games and be 90 and 72. I'm trying to do that math. Yeah, Matt. Yeah, that's 160. Okay, easy than that. Let's talk about the playoffs. About the Mets in it. Let's talk about so the Mets are not dance. They're not in the dance. The 12 teams and as in the postseason, six in the American, six in the National. But the players are here. Instead of the New York Mets sneaking into the wild card, we had the Cincinnati Reds. Same record the Mets. 83-79. 83-79. Had the Mets sunk in, they would like most likely face the Los Angeles Dodgers. And you had to go to Dodger Stadium and play three. Could the Mets have beat the Dodgers 2 out of 3? I would say uh, they'll get one, I believe. Honestly, I don't think they would have beat the Dodgers, but I'm not a better man to, but at least get one. They would have get 3 games. But honestly, with the way they play in September, how would you have beat the Los Angeles Dodgers? Have you the way you've been playing since June to September? How would you beat the Los Angeles Dodgers? I'm not saying the Dodgers had the best record within the last 4 months too. They had some times where they had issues. They didn't win their division. They had a wild card game. Like they didn't win the division. The Padres won the division. But across space, so the 2025 postseason is here. It has a great some fascinating stories. We have 2 MVP races. We got Aaron Judge, and you got Kyle Raleigh, who is a catcher who set numbers that never seen ever before by a catcher. And if I was a MLB, Baseball Writers Association of America, the BW, the BWAA, I would vote for Kyle Raleigh for the season that he had. 60 plus home runs, catcher's position, the backstop, that power. I haven't seen that power like that since like Mike Piazza. Crazy. And then we got Cy Young conversation as electric, both arms of the American League and the National League, and as the juggernauts of the Phillies in the postseason, the Dodgers in the postseason. Um, we're in for a wild October. Like, I would love to see like a team like Seattle in the World Series or a team like Milwaukee to try to win one for the first time in over 40 years, or a team like Cincinnati who hasn't won it in almost 40 years as well. I think it was 1990 the last time they won, if not mistaken, or 91. No, I think 1990. But in closing, to sum up the 2025 New York Mets season, it's a season that what could have been. We talk about Soto's $765 million contract. But now we talk about Alonso going back and be on the market as a free agent. You have Soto, Lindor, Nemo all locked down for the next 5 years. Alonso, he's a key component in that, but do you bring him back? That's the question. Do you bring him back for 2026 and have him finish his career with the Mets? Or do you let him walk? What will he ask for? Will he ask for 200 million, 300 million for? Damn sure no, he ain't no $300 million contract. And damn sure no 200 million. Like, let's be serious. He could, but I didn't spend that much money on Pete Alonso. Like, seriously. Let's be serious. But again, with Soto Alonso, let's close out. Like I said, Soto Alonso having a great season, Alonso breaking a franchise record, and he has reestablished himself as a force in the bullpen. There was lack in depth, untimely injuries, the collapse again, like the '07 Mets, the '08 Mets, the collapse. The end of the Mets, the New York Mets, watching in Queens instead of being fight for a championship for the first time since last year, as they go into 2026 without a world title in almost 40 years. Since the infamous '86 Mets, which I just talked about, the Milky Wilson, the Gary Carter, the Keith Hernandez, the Dwight Gooden, the Darryl Strawberry, the Rafael Santana, the Ron Darlings of the world. What do the Mets do? What they need to do? No, obviously they need to pitching, situational hitting, bullpen depth, people that can play in the clutch, situational hitting, situational hitting. If you get people that can hit to put mans on base, and you have Alonso, you have Soto, you have Nemo, even McNeil. He's the former batting champion. I don't know what happened to him. You got people that hit. They can bring in runs and have pitchers that can pitch deep. Not no 5 innings, not no 4 and 2/3, not no 4 innings pitching. People that can pitch. You can get people if you get pitchers like in the back days. It was Maddox, Glavine, Smokes, Pedro, Johnson, Schilling, Musina, Santana. These DeGrom currently, you know, Paul Sheens currently, pitchers that can pitch. And let me not forget about Verlander and Scherzer. These legends, Hall of Famers, they will go in the Hall of Fame. If you can get pitchers like that, and let's give props to Nolan McLean, Jonah Tong. Amazing, amazing what they have done for us for the Mets in September. Get pitchers like gritty pitchers that can pitch. CC Sabathia, and that's why he's a first ballot Hall of Famer. A gritty pitcher that pitches. I think I think in '08, I think that was, or '07, whatever year it was, he should have been the first player ever to win a Cy Young for the American League and Cy Young, American League and National League, both leagues in the same year. He should have been a gritty pitcher. You need a gritty pitcher. But then again, whatever Dave Stearns, Steve Cohen doing this offseason is going to be very crucial, and this lineup will look completely different from what it looked like in 2025. This offseason going to be, like I said, going to be crucial. Do the Mets spend big on pitching? Do they bring Alonso back? Do they resign? I think since he had that injury, I think Diaz get an extra year with the Mets. If not, do they resign him back? Do you fill up the bullpen? Do you balance your lineup? I think you really need to balance your lineup. Some of these Ronnie Mauricio, winter ball, play winter ball, develop your tunes, develop your skills. You got skills. Alvarez, Hill. If you can play winter ball, play winter ball. Like Soto and Alonso on, play winter ball. Like go out there, tune your skills to be a better player than you was the following year. But we covered all of this right here on the CE Media podcast. Thank you for listening. For me ranting about my Mets. Very frustrating for me. Now I got looking forward to my fantasy league and football. A little bit of football. Hopefully the Patriots can do something. And then the next is coming. And then of course wrestling. Thank you for listening to See Me, a podcast that show allows you to come your own unique way. Make sure you subscribe, share this with a Mets fan in your life, and hashtag this on social media, See Me a Pod. And let's talk about your off-season wish list for the Mets or just anybody in sports. Who do you want the Mets to sign? Let us know in the comments on YouTube, in the comments on Spotify, and your comments on Apple Podcasts. However you listen, just leave a comment, 5 stars, rate, subscribe, share. Again, my name is Clyde Anson. This is the See Me podcast, a show that allows you to come in your own unique way. God bless. And I'm ready for the Major League Baseball postseason. Take care. Oh, yeah, if you want to be a guest on the See Me podcast, please email me at seemeyapodcast@gmail.com. I will get in contact with you there. Or if you go onto my Instagram page or Facebook page, the See Me a Podcast, click on the link tree, and then go to book it, and then you can fill out a form there. I'll get it. We'll coordinate, and you'll be on the show. Again, this is Clyde from the See Me a Podcast, the show that allows you to come in your own unique way. Have a beautiful week. Thanks for tuning in to another episode of the CA Media Podcast, the show that allows you to come in your own unique way. I am the host, Clyde Anson. Want to be a guest on the show? Got questions, feedback, or a story you'd like to share? We'd love to hear from you. Email us at camediapodcast@gmail.com. Follow us on all platforms at CA Media Podcast. Listen and subscribe on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, iHeartRadio, Amazon Music, and wherever you stream your podcast. Don't forget to like, share, and leave a review. It helps us grow and keep bringing the conversations that matters. Until next time, stay connected, stay inspired, and always remember, we are the show that allows you to come in your own unique way.